The West Indies won their second World T20 title, beating England by 4 wickets last night in Kolkata, while round 6 of Super Rugby threw out 1 or 2 surprises. To discuss these a bit further, I'm joined in studio this morning by Sport24 editor Garen Lamley and chief writer Rob Howing. Gentlemen, thank you very much for coming in. Good to have you both in the studio this Monday morning. Rob, last night's T20 final, West Indies looked dead and buried at one stage in that last over, and as we've come to expect from them, that sort of calypso cricket just smashed their way to another title. It was incredible to watch.
Yeah, hats off to them. I mean, to letter of the law, you could say that they were lucky, but you know, there is no such thing as luck in T20 because luck abounds in that format, and it's making your luck, it's making your plays at the right moments, which is exactly what Carlos Braithwaite did. Suddenly, just boom, 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 4 times 6. You've got Ben Stokes sitting there with his, his down on his haunches, hands on his head, not knowing, which way to turn, and thinking,
social media calling him Ben Chokes afterwards.
Well, exactly. I mean, and look, it's remarkable remembering that player who absolutely slaughtered South Africa's bowlers at Newlands in a Test match, hitting sixes left, right, and centre only a few months ago. Suddenly, sort of hero to zero. But that's what 2020 does to you. That's what makes it quite, for all the sort of flaws that that it still has, it does make it a very watchable form of cricket. And hats off to West Indies. They are a bit of a happy-go-lucky side. They don't believe in death. They sort of they always believe that somebody will be able to haul them out, even if it's not going to be a Chris Gayle, for instance, who didn't come off again in the final. And yet notably they actually still won it, which does tell you that there is a certain amount of metal in this West Indies side. And it was widely acclaimed. They've had big problems in the Caribbean, but this cash flush T20 arena is what really appeals to them the most. And you can almost hardly blame them for wanting to sort of specialise in T20 and almost disregard tests and ODIs. Their players are all smiling from ear to ear because they're all going to get sort of more and more lucrative sort of IPL and other deals in the 2020 arena and make good money before they go, and good luck to them.
Well, I mean, speaking of sort of cash and deals, and Garen, obviously they've been having ongoing problems with the West Indies Cricket Board regarding pay. Marlon Samuels, who was the star of the show, seemed to have a bit of a swipe at them afterwards, along with a couple of swipes at other players and former players. But what do you make of that whole sort of ongoing saga?
Yeah, it is pretty sad for the West Indies, and they were obviously a powerhouse of cricket back in the 80s and years like that. But in recent past, they've always sort of been at loggerheads with their board, and past players have come in and tried to sort things out. They've had past players coaching them. You see Curtly Ambrose now very much involved, trying to sort of keep the peace between the players and the board. But straight after the final 6, Darren Sammy, he had a dig at the board then hit back at him, at Marlon Samuels having a go at Shane Warne. So they've obviously got a lot of off-field distractions, but yet, and a couple of players who actually refused to play in this tournament as well. They could have been perhaps a little bit stronger had everyone, turned up. But a couple of them just made themselves unavailable, saving themselves perhaps for the IPL, which now starts this coming week.
Garen, sorry, are the players' demands unrealistic, or does the West Indies Cricket Board have an issue with funds?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty sure they do have an issue with funds. To be quite honest, I'm not sure what they're actually looking for in terms of if it's money or more, appearance fees or match winning fees and that sort of thing. I think they just see how much they can make in an IPL or a Big Bash, or there's even the Caribbean Premier League, I believe, that they have their tournament in their home country, but they're making so much money around the world that it's they put that before playing for their own country. It seems to be the way things are done in the West Indies, right or wrong. You can't fault them. They're bringing great entertainment around the world. Chris Gayle, the Indian crowds were like baying for him to come and bat the one match that he was actually injured and couldn't come out to bat. And they were calling for him. He actually didn't end up batting. Even when he's out second ball, as he's been in the last couple of games, they're still chanting his name. So he's like a fan favourite in the IPL in India. I'm sure he'll do incredibly well in the IPL. Lucky to the team that has bought him. He's making so much money over there that no matter what the West Indies board can offer, it still won't be enough, won't be able to compare to how much he's banking from these IPL, and he's not the only one. It's Carlos Brathwaite, I believe, has been signed for $650,000, which is obviously a lot of money, and a couple others, Marlon Samuels, Darren Sammy even. They've got some Badri's a really good spinner these days in the unofficial team of the tournament. So they seem to have a core nucleus of a really good 2020 side. I just think in the 5-day arena, they grow a little bit bored and tired and just can't concentrate and want to play their calypso cricket and run a ball stuff rather than grinding it out and for 90 overs a day. So they seem better suited. I actually don't see how that ever changes, to be quite honest. They might have some good test players in the midst, but I just don't see them ever sort of changing back now to the sort of test team that they were in the 80s. It just seems like the way cricket's going, 2020 ODI perhaps, that's their forte. That's how they're going to sort of approach things going forward.
Which should still make for some good one-day cricket, Rob, because the Proteas, of course, are off there for the triangular.
Yes, that's going to be a good one. They've got Australia taking part as well, and that's South Africa's first assignment of the new season, if you like. Not really the new season; it's more like the winter, but nevertheless, not the worst place to start, considering that West Indies will be sort of the islands will be on a high, sort of celebrating this World T20 success, and then we go into ODIs. What will be interesting is seeing just how the West Indies ODI side differs from the T20 side, because I think you're going to see several of those sort of hired guns, if you like, that the West Indies have for T20. Not necessarily, you're rightly or wrongly cutting the nod for the ODI side, which is still relatively weak. I think they're still ranked something like 9th in ODIs, so they're not a major force there. Everything these days in the Caribbean revolves around T20. That seems to be the new sort of sexy phrase in the Caribbean when it comes to cricket, which is sad in a way, thinking of the heritage in Test cricket especially. But still not a bad place for South Africa to sort of get off climb back on the horse, if you like, because it'll be quite a challenging tri-series against Australia and West Indies.